Call to order a regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District, Wednesday, January 10th at 5 p.m. Wes, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Can I have a roll call, please, Diane?
Director Ellithorpe?
Here.
Director Evans, I will note as absent. Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Sinella?
Here.
Director Martin?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting. So moved by Mr. Hernandez,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Sinella. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4, no abstentions. Public comment. We do have one request to speak under oral comment, and that would be Mr. Hunsaker. I'm surprised.
Before a packed house.
Yeah. We put extra TV screens up for you just to have it. They didn't turn them on, though. It wasn't quite that busy.
No, I can see them, thank you. Mike Hunsaker, speaking as president of the Twin Oaks Valley Property Owners Association. We are getting concerned about waste treatment. In 2014, I read during the memo on the Via Villages, in which the district noted it had run out of all available waste treatment capacity at that point. And we haven't done that much to improve things, and the current master water plan, well, it mentioned also in the memo that there was no plans to do anything more in waste treatment through 2030 at that point. And when I looked at the new master water plan, I didn't see much on the new waste treatment either. There was mentioning of purchasing of more capacity, but there's a little problem, is that just about every district in the county is experiencing explosive growth, especially of large apartment complexes. And there's concern that we're subsidizing these mass developments by not requiring adequate capacity fees, not requiring enough meters to be purchased. And the Via Village is an example of some of that. It's 416 apartments. According to your rates and facility fees, there should be about 1 2-inch meter per 10 apartments. Well, that's almost 42 meters, 2-inch meters. But what was approved and what was eventually built were just 11 meters. Obviously, there should be some deficiency of under capacity water meters. That should be investigated, and we should have some written policy as to how that is determined and why these deficiencies are allowed to exist. 42 meters versus 11 is a substantial amount of money. Thank you.
Director, President,
Thank you, Mr. Hunsaker. It's oral communication. Can't speak
But
about
we
it.
can get,
I can
Go right
ask for
ahead.
direction. I would like to ask the manager to have one of the staff correct Mr. Hunsaker on his information, because it's absolutely wrong, and I would like this to discontinue in the future. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Notice to the public notice is on the agenda, the public's been notified. Consent calendar, need a motion,
Move to approve.
second it,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. However, going back at 1.4, because we have a speaker on it, which is allowed to talk about it, approved for the agreement of payment of capacity fees, Sunshine Mountain Vineyard. Do you want to talk about it again? declined. Well, no action items.
Easy peasy for you, huh?
So how do these microphones work exactly now? Reports, general manager.
So I don't have anything of my own, but Director Evans did ask me to pass something along for her. She had to leave. She wanted to share that she has been named on the Admin and Finance Committee and the Imported Water Committee down at County Water Authority. She's also the chair of the Audit Committee, and she's the chair of the Water Conservation Authority, which includes the JPA of the Water Conservation Garden. And at the January 8th MWD board meeting, Gloria Gray stepped in as the chairman of the board. And Director Evans thinks she's very good at collaboration and working towards a better working relationship between the Water Authority and Metropolitan. And that's all she asked me to share.
Encino Wastewater Authority, Capital Improvement Committee.
We have not had a meeting this month. We are going to discuss the timeframes and the appointments tomorrow, actually. And I will have a report following board meeting.
Policy and Finance Committee.
Haven't had a Policy and Finance Committee yet this month, so nothing to report.
Standing Committee. That would be Finance.
The Finance Committee will be meeting on Monday.
At what time is that
Time
Monday?
to be determined. Which will be publicly noticed tomorrow.
Will you do something as the chairman I was unable to do? Will you try to set up a direct date and time for all the meetings for the entire year?
I will do that.
Thank you. Director report on travel, conference, seminars? Jim?
Yes, I was at the Water Council yesterday, actually, and we had a nice presentation from Craig's old stomping grounds over there about infrastructure and technology in our profession. Very, very informative. Very, very expensive. But you get to put it on your phone and really have a good time with it.
But in the long run, it's inexpensive because you save a lot of costs.
And
You add some, but you save a lot more than you add.
I would like
when
to
you-
see the actuarial on that one.
Well, when you're talking about vehicles off the road, you know, that you don't
And
have to
staff.
have.
Yeah,
Well, you have to have other staff, but,
and divide that by 10, 20 million, see how long that takes.
and that's the budget way of doing finance, charging people, which to me seems the way we were all gonna go at some point in time. So when I get there now, rather than us doing some Chinese method.
You know,
Director Sinella,
So I attended the same CAWA breakfast and also thought that the presentation was interesting. I looked at it, especially as it pertained to their water tracker technology that they had rolled out recently. I looked at it from a customer experience standpoint, and I think that I'd like to maybe see some more data around how many of the customers actually use the dashboard. And I think it could be a useful tool, and it could be a benefit to the customers, if they're using it. But I do know that sometimes you have this nice technology, and most of our customers are probably just happy with, I get good quality, reliable water, and I pay my bill when it comes, and I'm not gonna go spend time and look mid-month where I'm at, right? So, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe customers like doing that, and so I'd be kinda interested. I don't know if we have access to that information, if they would provide that information to us, but
Yeah, I'm sure they would share with us. I'll
but I
reach.
thought it was neat, and
I think they brought it up yesterday.
yeah,
I think they said it was 20%.
Yeah, they gave some rough numbers. I could reach out to Mr. Armstrong.
20%'s not too impressive, but, you know, I remember 3-4 years ago when we were talking about doing some public outreach, initiatives and we hired a firm. One of the firms, that we didn't go with was talking about creating a phone app that customers could use to communicate with the district and maybe get some more information about, you know, water conservation and maybe even their bill someday, I don't know, but, not saying it's the top priority, but I'd be kinda curious to maybe look in that, you know, at some point.
Director Elthar?
Yeah, I attended the same seminar yesterday. As a former employee there and having been involved in this project, I wasn't a huge proponent of it just because of the massive cost. And this project kind of evolved. I mean, it was, it really came out of an AMR effort, and a lot of big costs. And, it was, the way it was proposed to the board up there at the time was it was gonna eliminate a certain amount of meter readers out in the field. And that came to be true, but it was replaced by the need for other types of labor, like very technical IT staff. So that, I think the board was disappointed in the fact that it really didn't, it didn't amount to the labor savings that was proposed to begin with. One thing in favor of it, though, and I think Jeff did mention that yesterday, was the decrease in water loss. I mean, it cut Rancho's water loss from averaged about 6% down to about 3%. And if you look at the marginal cost of water at that agency, that amounts to about $3 million a year. So, I mean, that's fairly quick payback on it. Jeff kind of threw out a figure of about $15 million. And I don't know if they really know how much this thing ended up costing them, but at $3 million a year savings, it's pretty hefty. Yeah, it's pretty good payback. So I think they're always worth looking into. But I do share Director Snell's concern on the utilization of some of these customer features. I suspect it's there's a few vocal people that really that are really in favor of it. But as far as I don't know. It's that utility. I don't know if it's really there.
Yeah, life gets so hectic, I just can't imagine too many
Yeah.
people are gonna stop, mid-month and check out their water usage.
I also attended that meeting, and I guess my takeaway was, yes, you exchange employees, but the water cost, which I was gonna bring up, you have quite a savings in water cost. You have vehicle cost, which is a huge expense on us. And you have workman's comp cost. It's cheaper to work comp a employee sitting in an office than it is driving a truck. Two different areas there, correct? Finance people, is that correct? Office person pays less in workman's comp than the guy digging ditches out there. He's a much higher rate. So there's a lot of trickle-down costs that are involved there. And the other part, is it the fairest way to do it? It seems to me it's the fairest way to actually do it. But that agency is twice our size in customers, 1.5 times our size in employees. So I can see where their payback. But I'd like to know how much they had to pass on to their customers and what their water bill is today because they use that. That would really tell the difference. What should their water bill and their sewer bill today versus what it was 10 years ago? I don't know the answer. And same with what's it look like compared to ours. So.
If I can add, staff has been looking into AMI, so we've been dealing with vendors and trying to get information. We've been working collaboratively with Olivenhain, who's doing an AMI. So we're looking at it, we're crunching the numbers, and at the appropriate time, we'll bring something in front of the board, maybe through the finance committee, to talk about, does this make sense for Vallecitos?
Okay. Other business?
President Martin, I just wanted to add,
Oh, I forgot, I'm sorry, I missed that.
I know this would be of interest to you all, that the CEQA guidelines were updated. They've been about 2 years in the making, and one of those impacts is the analysis of water supply impacts. So they've added a section to the guidelines to require additional analysis in connection with the initial study associated with water supply studies for projects, et cetera, it's consistent with the Supreme Court Vineyard decision, but they've now been rolled into the regulations. So those may be of interest to some of you. I just wanted to add that. There are a lot of other changes to the CEQA guidelines, but those were pertinent to Vallecitos.
Will that mean when a developer goes to the city to get approval, someone has to check with us if water is available? Does that mean more work for us for the CEQA process? And if so, is that something we're ready to pass on to the developer?
I think it's going to require more work and more analysis in terms of the water supply assessment that's done in connection with the project. The way it works, the city requests the information from the district provides it back. The city is the lead agency on the CEQA part of it, but it is gonna likely require more data in terms of the water supply assessment.
And we do charge for that.
We do, and James could probably talk to it more, but it's something when the developer comes in, there's a cost to them to get that
So that may
assessment.
go up because of CEQA.
It's possible, yeah. We look at our costs regularly, and if we see an increase in cost, we'll start passing those on to the developers.
The other item was that the Boyd sentencing was scheduled for today, but the court did continue that out to the 19th of February due to some circumstances there.
Who's sentencing?
It's the employee criminal proceeding, former employee criminal proceeding, the Boyd matter. You may not have been aware of it, but I thought you were.
I'm not aware of it.
So we had one of our employees that was threatened at a job site, and it resulted in legal action being taken. So that's what the general counsel is referring
Yeah,
to.
what wasn't aware, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were aware of it. It was a criminal action, so he was found guilty, and the sentencing hearing was scheduled for today, but it was continued to February 19th.
Our employee wasn't found guilty.
Your employee
The
wasn't.
person who threatened our
the
employee was
threatener.
found
And the
Oh.
person threatening the employee wasn't another employee? Okay.
No,
Okay.
good point. No, he worked for a contractor.
Is that something that maybe in a closed session in the future that we can just get like a little briefing on, or,
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, just,
So I'm hoping that Romney and West worked it out.
I'm not gonna name names.
They put Ed in between them is what they did. Okay. I have a comment that I meant to bring up for a few times, and I brought up to Glenn yesterday, but if you've driven past our lift station on San Marcos Boulevard, staff has done a fantastic job at landscaping the lift station that was always very ugly. And they did a nice job with river rock and some plants there, and they've done a really good job. And I've noticed it for 4 months, but I keep forgetting to bring it up at the board meeting to say kudos to staff, Ed, you and your staff. And I understand the guy that does that is the guy that's our poster boy on all of our stuff that we do. What's his name?
It was actually Jose, not Russell.
Oh, wasn't Russell.
Part of the piece of background. That was his design. We initially went out with landscape contractors to do that work. And it was outrageous. And Jose said he'd do it. He designed it. Construction crew and our CAL FIRE crews that we hired.
Yeah, I just, again, kudos for the amount of work that was done, was a lot of work there, but I mean, it really dressed it up and made it look very nice for the whole neighborhood. And even if an odor comes from that, although I haven't heard any complaints lately, people will accept it more because it looks nice.
James Fuchs's odors are being contained and scrubbed.
And that, let me ask you this, James. In the front of it, used to have that huge pipe coming out of the ground with a glass top that was brown. And before I got involved with the water district, I always assumed that you could drive by and see the level of waste. What was that for, and is it still there?
Those are actual clear tubes to tell you what position the valves are at. They're sluice gate valves to divert water either into lift station number 1 or allow it just to flow down the street.
And do we still need that with all the electronic stuff we have? Okay. All right, so I was right, what's in the jar there is not something I want to know.
It's just a stem from the valve. There's no actual sewage coming up in it.
Oh,
That was
okay.
actually grease that made it turn brown.
Oh, all right, that's what I always thought it was, well, great.
what'd you think about it?
I thought it was sewage. I always thought it was sewage. Before I got, I was like, really? They're proud. At Vallecitos, they're proud folks. They want to show it to everybody.
Car could hit it. I have another business.
Yeah, please.
I don't know if the Twin Oaks Valley group that Mr. Hunsaker represents allows, guest speakers or anything like that, but, do we know if our public relations folks have engaged that group at all? And the reason why I ask is I'm very fearful that there's a lot of confusion about what, we hear every single meeting that's been brought up at the podium. And I'm fearful that confusion might be getting relayed to the rest of the group. And so maybe to be more proactive and maybe put some of Mr. Hunsaker's concerns and maybe some of the group's concerns to rest, we can be a little bit more proactive and engage that group. I'd be willing to go. I'm sure maybe Betty, who I think represents that area, would probably want to go. Of course, we have PR, public relations professionals, that can certainly help dispel some of the misinformation and maybe clarify some of the confusion. And it might be a win-win for everybody. So
I can reach out to that group and see if they'd be willing to host us, and we can make a presentation, have some technical staff as well as the board
because, I mean,
representation.
do you guys accept speakers, or do you guys do any sort of presentations like that, or?
We haven't done presentations, we have speakers who are the officers.
Well, maybe somebody from our team can reach out to you or one of the officers and see if that's something that they would be interested in hearing it directly from the source.
Okay, hearing no others? Meeting adjourned.